Welcome to my channel. I'm Lis Nielsen. I'm an oil landscape painter. I paint in the studio and in plein air, out in nature. I am so excited to be sharing with you my painting process, the tools and the techniques that I use. I hope that this will help you along your journey as an artist. I want to show you some of my chosen supplies that I use for my oil painting. First of all, let's focus in on the paints. This is titanium white, cadmium lemon, cadmium yellow medium, cadmium red light, alizarin crimson, viridian, and ultramarine blue. I also have behind here yellow ochre, cadmium orange, and cerulean blue, which you can add to the palette. Cerulean blue is nice to be used up in the sky colors. I mostly use ultramarine for that, but a lot of times the sky is a warmer blue. And the orange is great for mixing. I use a complement mixing strategy, and so the orange works really well for that, mixing grays. And the yellow ochre is just a general all-purpose color that can be used in your greens. The viridian for green, I never use it straight out of the tube for my foliage, or for anything for that matter. It's always mixed, so I'll be mixing viridian with my yellows, putting in some reds, and the yellow ochre supports that. Moving along here, I always keep pliers on around the easel for opening my paints. I use this tool for getting all the paint out of the tubes. My brushes, I mostly use larger flats from size 6 up, bristle brushes, and then I use some soft flats as well from various companies. I'm not really honing in on a company today. These are Lang nickel brushes. They're great for blending, softening edges. I do keep a brush like this on my palette, around my palette, to use for fine details, signing my name, things like that. And this is a worn flat, but I love it because I do a lot of my drawing in using this brush. So these did start off as flats, but they get worn on the edges. You can see that. And I rarely use any rounds. I'm just, if you like that, that's fine. I'm not talking against it. This is the wash can and holds the thinner. I just pull it out of here even when I'm thinning my paint. I don't have a separate medium usually. Occasionally, I do use liquid for that, but you can read up on that. Here are my painting knives. I have others, but this one I use mostly for mixing, and then I will also do some painting with the knives later in the process. And I always keep gloves. I use gloves usually when I'm painting. You'll see I have some grays left on the palette here, on the easel palette. And those are helpful in some of my mixing, so I'll hang on to them after or during my cleanup process. And I keep my paper towels hooked onto my easel. As I said, I'm just using a field easel for my studio right now. My studio is very small, but it works just fine for me. If you only have a kitchen table to work on, a lot of people prefer to work in their kitchen. I have a computer screen, a nice big computer screen. I hook my small computer up to that. I mirror that. I have my paints laid out here, and usually keep a cup of coffee close by as well. All right, so that's my setup. And as I show you other things that I use, I'll point those out. I just finished my value sketch of the Colorado River
and cliff area that I'm going to be painting. And I just want to say that whether you're painting from a photograph or out in the field, you need to make a value sketch. It's not a sketch that takes very long to do. It's just a few minutes. And what you're doing is you're examining the scene, or if it's a still life, you're examining the still life, you're examining the portrait, whatever it is, and you're saying, what makes this look like a picture? It is the light and the dark that's happening in that image. And so you need to separate them in your mind and then put them down on paper and show the value map where you're going so that you can better define that when you go to start using paint. You can very, very quickly get confused and confuse the viewer as well when they look at your painting if you have not solidified those value areas. So that was why I did my value sketch for this, and why even if I'm out working in the field, I'm going to do a value sketch.
Hey there, I just wanted to show you the photograph of the scene that I will be painting. And this is a picture that I took of the Colorado River from a train window. So you can take a look at it. I like it I'm going to go ahead and mix up some colors. The sky is the lightest, then the ground plane. But this is a reflection, so this is very light in comparison to this. So it's reflecting. It's still a little less bright than the sky here. So think of that when you're mixing. That's about right there. It's pretty good. But we'll try it, and it'll probably need to lighten up in some areas. Still need a dark. I see a dark here. I see some darks in here. So I need to mix up a general dark area. This painting sat overnight in the studio, and so it's still very wet and very workable. I like to work a la prima. That means get as much done in the first go and work wet on wet. I did go ahead and put my signature on there only because that's another thing you can do when it's wet. You can sort of scratch in. As I stood back and to look at the painting, I noticed that it really does show from far away. I did a good job of holding my values, even though I have a lot of variation going on inside of this. The value holds on that cliff. The value holds up in here. I have some lights going on, but not too much, so that I can see the big shapes. That's very important. The value holds down in here in the dark part of the water, and the value holds in the light part of the water, and of course the sky itself. What isn't working here is that I don't have an interesting shape here. This is bugging me. One thing that is definitely not working is this rock, so I will be showing you how to scrape that out. You have to simplify rocks in order for them to read right in the landscape paint. You just use your palette knife and scrape it out. Super simple, as long as your paint is wet, that is. Yeah, I did not like the shape of that rock. As you work on these paintings, a lot of times you'll think you're finished with something, you'll go to bed, and then you get up the next morning and you realize, oh my goodness, I need to change this or that. And it's just a matter of getting away from it for a while. So give yourself a break and go get some coffee or go for a walk, and then come back and see if you see something different, or get up the next morning and take another look at it. Don't call it finished until you've had some time away from it. You know, you can be almost finished with something. You know you're almost finished with it. When I left this painting yesterday, I knew it was close. It just needed, I knew I was going to have to be coming back today on this too. Getting on with the mountainside now. I don't want this hump. That's just really bugging me there. So I'm going to wash my brush, mix up some sky color. And when you do this, you can either, if it's not too thick of paint, you can go over it. I'm going to go in or down here and make this shape more interesting. I know I'm going to do that there. So I can scrape part of that out, and that will help when I bring my sky color down into it. back and watch more because I'll be doing this. This is what I love to do and I want to share it. Take care and happy painting.